Right, in an optimistic mood, I decided to change the engine mounting rubber, which on this particular car are somewhere between inaccessible and really not very accessible. The bits of rubber you can just about see hanging in the middle of the screen, I think are the remnants of the original engine mounting rubber. They kind of melted. Top ones I've already got out, so I'll show those later on. The bottom ones, I'm not quite sure how the heck I'm gonna get to them, because you can't get the radiator out, because apparently that comes as a sub-assembly with the wings, and the access is really quite tricky. Anyway, we shall see, as per usual. Yes, more later when I've got them out. Here is the offending articles seen from above. From below you can't see sort of all basically. From above you can see it a bit better. I've taken the metal caps that are on here, taken them off with the rubber in it. Next thing I need to take the two radiator hoses off, taking the one at the bottom off. Then I should be able to lift the engine. This bracket here should stay where it is. There's another metal cup in there which should then come off. These metal bushes are in there as well for a reason. Yeah, so get the radiator hoses off, lift the engine and see what happens. All will become clear. Change of plan. Having some advice from the people on the forum, they suggest removing this bracket here, which goes all the way around. 2 bolts at the bottom here, 2 bolts there, similar contraption on the other side. Get this oil feed for the water pump out of the way, get the water pump off, and then remove the bracket, do it all on the workbench, put it back. They really strongly suggest not to mess around with the radiator, because lining it up is not that easy. So that's the next plan. Get that all sorted. Water pump off, bracket loose, engine supported, which is a very good idea, otherwise it'll clatter right out of the car. Not ideal. So it's now a case of just get that bracket out, protected the radiator a bit with some cardboard, sounds like a good idea. Yes, and then I'll show what the actual rubber jobbies look like. The front engine mounting complete. That's where it bolts onto the engine. Those 2 bits. You got your suspension bitties here. The bracket that bolts onto the chassis. Now I don't know what happened to these suspension rubbers, but they seem to have melted. Because the new ones look like this, which is slightly different. Well, a bit fatter. It doesn't look as molten. Anyway. Well, that's a whole lot disassembled. Well, nearly. I still have to get the rubbers out of this cup and the one opposite. I think it's safe to say they've seen better days. They definitely are due a replacement. I don't know what this is made of, whether it was rubber. I don't think it is anymore. Anyway, yes, it's all fairly molten and sticky and horrible. Must have got warm at some point. Anyway, right, get it all apart, tidy, cleaned up, and then put it back together again, and the process goes in reverse. Here are the old rubbers. Basically they really have suffered over the years. This one just completely had to be destroyed before it came out of the cups. And this is the assembly redone. So some half decent bushes, some rubber in it. Having looked at this, there is no way on God's earth can you remove these rubber bushes without actually taking the whole little frame off. For one, these castle nuts will have to get a split pin through them. Well, quite how you line that up once it's on the car when you can't see it, because it's all behind the radiator and underneath all sorts of bits of metal. I don't know. Anyway, that's my opinion. Somebody else might have done it, in which case I stand corrected and applaud them. Anyway, tools are used, fairly simple, straightforward. Some pins just to push out the old split pin, a couple of spanners to take the nuts off, nut and bolt apart, knife to tidy up, screwdriver to just help push the new rubber into the cups, chisel to get the old rubbers out, some rubber grease to make it all a bit easier, and some copper grease to hopefully make sure that the nuts don't stick together ever. So yeah, not that difficult as usual, but just a bit fiddly. Anyway, I'll have this all tightened up, put split pins in, and then get it back on the car, and we'll see how it all works. Well, that's the engine suspension bracket and the rubbers back in again. So it was these two bolts, two on the other side, there's two here, two on the other side as well. So there's 8 bolts in all holding the thing. And yeah, it may be a bit of work getting the water pump off and all that, but as I said, there's no way you could do it without. Just end of story. Right. Now for the last bits to put back on again.